Hey everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today we're going to be talking about specifically why your ADHD is not a dopamine problem. So for some people it is, but there is still a good percentage of people where ADHD, I have found, is not necessarily a dopamine problem. Let me explain. There is several indications that I found from my experience working with people with ADHD and my own ADHD, even for myself, that it wasn't necessarily a dopamine problem, but there are several other things that it can be contributing to. And so I'm going to be discussing about these things specifically of how ADHD can be impacted by multiple things in our body than just the brain or just it being a dopamine problem. So the very first thing that we need to look at is the things that we eat and that we consume are very important for not only feeding the body, but also feeding the brain. And why the gut is so critical is because 90 to 95%, I've heard me say this multiple times, 90 to 95% of a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. Okay. That's very important. Now, if there's issues with the digestive system, whether that's dealing with IBS, or candida overgrowth, or even GERD, or any other kind of digestive issues, it's going to make it very difficult to be helping, making, and producing neurotransmitters. And that's going to ultimately impact the brain. I should use a different color here. Okay. So if the gut's not working optimally, then that's something that needs to be addressed. And that's very, very critical. And this could be contributing not where it's a dopamine problem, but it's a digestive problem. And that is something that I see time and time again that has to be addressed. And a lot of times it's not addressed when it comes to people with ADHD. Okay. The next thing is the liver. Now, the liver is so vital for helping making and building and modulating different hormones, such as thyroid hormones. It's also very important for gluconeogenesis. So for glucose, for iron, for like things like hormones like T3 and T4, which is our thyroid. Also, it is a major detoxification. It's a vital organ that detoxes the body. And so when it gets backed up and is not working so great, it can cause symptoms of things like brain fog, focus issues, fatigue, and many others. So if you have some liver issues, if you have a high lipid panel, if you have some cholesterol issues, if you have elevated liver enzymes, it could be contributing to your ADHD situation. Because the liver, if it isn't working optimally, then it can cause these different symptoms that also are very similar to ADHD. Another really big one to also keep in mind is your thyroid. So thyroid, if you have hypo or hyperthyroidism, it can cause symptoms of not only fatigue, but also brain fog, focus issues, irritability, mood swings, depression, anxiety. I mean, you name it. Thyroid, so you can see how ADHD might have some similar symptoms. And so if it isn't a dopamine issue, it could be a thyroid issue. A lot of people with ADHD, especially women, will have a thyroid issue. They're more prone to having thyroid issues. And so things that you want to make sure that you're testing for and making sure that this isn't an issue is testing things like TSH, free T3, free T4, and also anti-TPO. and also reverse T3. Those are things that you want to be doing to rule in or rule out that situation. Because if you have a thyroid issue, that can cause your ADHD symptoms to even be worse. So you want to make sure you're addressing this and not forgetting about that. Okay. Another really big one is looking at the adrenals and seeing that the adrenals can also contribute to a lot of the ADHD symptoms you're experiencing. And so when we look at the adrenals, cortisol is a really big one. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are three key hormones that the adrenals does produce. And if these are off, they're low, or in some cases high, it can cause symptoms of high stress, fatigue, lack of focus throughout the day, lack of motivation, drive. It can also impact sleep, is a huge one. Now, sleep issues is very vital when it comes to, sleep issues are a big issue for people with ADHD. Because if you're not getting good quality sleep, that's going to impact your focus throughout the day. It's going to impact your energy throughout the day, especially adults with ADHD. And so therefore, you want to make sure that your adrenal health is sufficient. So it's what we call as adrenal insufficiency syndrome. Insufficiency syndrome. Okay. So adrenal insufficiency syndrome just means that it's not producing enough cortisol. And if you're not having enough cortisol, you're going to have low energy throughout the day. You can have a lack of focus throughout the day. You can have inconsistency. So that becomes some big issues. And it's something I see all the time with my adult ADHD patients consistently. Okay. Now, don't worry, I haven't forgot about the brain. So the brain is important. And when it comes to ADHD, and yes, dopamine can be a big culprit. But for this live stream, I really want to kind of address why it isn't specifically always a dopamine problem. Because it could be a serotonin problem. It could be a GABA problem. It could be a epinephrine problem or norepinephrine. So several other different neurotransmitters that it could possibly be. And sometimes this is not the issue, or this is the issue, but it's elevated. And I'm going to show you a case study and showing this example here of why you got to be really careful when it comes to addressing ADHD. And sometimes taking an ADHD medication isn't going to solve your ADHD problem. It could actually make things worse. So let me explain. First off, I want to go back to the adrenals and why it's so important to looking at the adrenals when it comes to your ADHD and your ADHD health. So just like this case situation with this patient you could see here clearly that they had low cortisol levels throughout the day. So what I was just referring to adrenal insufficiency syndrome, when they don't have enough cortisol. When you don't have enough cortisol, you can't have consistent focus throughout the day. You just can't. It's very difficult. You reach a state of burnout, overwhelm. You can't manage your stress. You can't manage having enough energy throughout the day. So that is why it's so important to test this to see, okay, what is the issues? And so what we'll do here is add adrenal support first thing in the day and midday if we need to. If it's spiked in some cases, then we need to use something like cortisol manager to lower those down. Okay. Now, some other things also keep in mind. I was also talking about hormones. So sometimes we will see hormones, things like this patient where their testosterone and DHEA levels are low. This will impact not only their energy, but also their focus throughout the day. And so once we implemented this made a big difference in their ADHD health because it was missed completely. That's the problem is when you're going and seeing your doctor, they're just thinking about just the brain and think, oh, we just need to change your medication. But what about all the other aspects of your health that can be making your ADHD symptoms worse? And that is what's missed. And that's what I specialize in, is looking at the body as a whole to be able to address what could be contributing to making your ADHD symptoms even worse and your ADHD health worse. Okay. So this made a drastic improvement because we identified this. Now, some other things also to keep in mind is there could be other micronutrient deficiencies that could be also contributing to your situation and it not being a dopamine problem. A big one would be choline, just like this person. Choline, when it's deficient, that can impact your memory in the long run. And so if you have short-term, long-term memory issues, it's possible that you might have a choline deficiency. Okay. Also, some other things that could be contributing is seeing your CoQ10 levels depleted or glutamine levels depleted. These things can impact your energy and your focus as well. So sometimes it's not always just a dopamine problem, or it never is a dopamine problem. Just depends on the person and what they need. Because when you're taking a medication, you maybe have never been explained this to you before. When you take a medication, ADHD meds block. Oh, let me use a different color. Let me use a highlighter. They block the dopamine transporter. So that the transporter is right here. What transporter it is doing, it's pretty much communicating back and forth and saying, hey, release more dopamine or hold back. It's communication with the brain and the body. It's basically making this communication. So what it does is it's causing an, wait, what happened to my highlighter? There we go. It's causing an increase in dopamine concentration at the synapse. Now, when it's blocked, because normally this is what's supposed to be happening, it's supposed to be going back and forth like this. But when it's blocked right here, what happens is it's going to be dumping more and more dopamine and just keep on dumping it and increasing those levels. The problem with this is over time, the brain and the body starts decreasing a bit on its production. Now we've seen it where it's decreased about 20% when someone is heavily dependent on a stimulant medication. Now you probably never were told that. This is why you probably find that you have to increase your medications, you increase your dosage or change it, or you find that it's not very effective. Let me know in the chat if you found that that's been an issue. Okay. All right. Okay, next question here. All right, so the next question, or not next question, the next thing I wanted to show is that within dopamine, there is specifically different things that it could be, but it also could be increasing dopamine levels, just like this patient right here. So if you have elevated dopamine levels, what can that be doing? It can make you feel agitated, irritated, stressed, heart palpitations. It can make things worse. So when you take the medication and your dopamine levels were already high to begin with, it can make things worse. Also, just like with this patient right here, is that they had elevated serotonin levels and also elevated GABA levels that also can make you feel more agitated, irritated, and stressed. Okay. So here's the thing. When you are suffering with taking medication, it's possible it isn't a dopamine problem. It's possible that your dopamine levels might be too high. Not always the case. And this is why it's so important to investigate to see what are you truly out of balance. Do you have elevated levels or do you have deficiencies in certain areas? It's really hard to know unless you actually do lab work and investigative work. And that's how we're able to help our patients' clients get results just like these patients that we did these case studies on. Okay. So if you would like to, find out this information for your own ADHD or the ADHD symptoms that you're experiencing, I'd love to help you out because what it does, it requires further investigation to investigate what truly is going on. And so what I'm doing is offering my focus mindset strategy session to you. So what this focus mindset strategy session is either with me or with one of my health experts, and you get a 45-minute one-on-one personalized strategy session with me. And it's a $750 value. You also get access to my nutrition lifestyle tracking app. So that's one thing we use with all our patients' clients as a $300 value. And then you get a bonus access to my HD health course. That's a $597 value that you get access if you do purchase that today. And so you get that total value is over $1,000 and you get it for just $297. Okay. So all you got to do is if you're interested, you just got to click on the link in the description below. Once you've clicked on that, then you'll take you here. You book your consultation. You go ahead and you purchase. Once you've done that, this is very, very important. Once you purchase, you still got to book your appointment. So don't forget to book your appointment. So it'll take you to this page. You'll click on this button. Once you go on there, then it will take you here to book a date and time. Select your practitioner. So if you want to be seen by me, go ahead and select me, Dr. LeGrand, and then book your date and time, and then fill out your information real quick. and then it'll take you to this landing page. Now, it's also very important. Once you've finished this process, you need to check your email to make sure you got your confirmation email of your appointment. Also, please activate your Practice Better account. You should get an email sent to you, and then you're going to fill out the client questionnaire. So make sure you fill that out, and that information that you need to do to fill out your client questionnaire. This is where I need to look over. This helps me determine what kind of labs we need to implement and what kind of action plan to put together. So please take the time to do that. Do this at least a couple days before your appointment, if possible, so I have time to look over that. And then block out 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes we need to go a full hour, depending on how many questions you do have, and then do show up early. We do give you a 10-minute grace period. If not, we have to mark it as a no-show. So if you are interested, and also if you do have a significant other or spouse, we do require that they are there present. So please pick a date and time that works best for both of you, because I like to see the outside perspective of your spouse, challenges that might be impacting your marriage or your relationship. So please do have them present there, because it's on your health. So if you're interested and want to finally tackle your ADHD, understand the root cause of this, then this is the next step to do, is to click on that link in the description below. And I'll see you guys on the inside. And I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Thanks.